Good morning, everyone. It's right at about 9:02, and there will be a couple other people joining us. I just wanted to respect everyone's time. My name's David Wicks, and we're here to talk about the historic lock and dam sites. This is a committee really of the Ohio River Basin Alliance, and welcome everybody. We have a couple new people to our committee, and so I thought we'd start off with some introductions of who we are. And then we have really four topics that we want to do for our agenda today. And when you're introducing yourself, if you could say anything about, if you want to add an item to the agenda, we could certainly do that. Anyway, I'm chair of this nature-based working group and have been doing this now for about 1.5 years. My background is I'm a Louisville person and have a facility on Louisville's waterfront. I teach at the University of Louisville, and my last class was yesterday. And so I'm free for the semester. We had a lot of field trips, and so it just worked out well. I'm just going to start up on the left-hand side of my screen here, and that's Chris Lawrence.
Thanks, David, and thanks for organizing this, keeping all this together and moving us along. So I'm Chris Lawrence. I live in Cincinnati, and I am a professor of biological sciences at Thomas More University, which is across the river in northern Kentucky. And I'm also an aquatic ecologist, so I teach things like aquatic biology, invertebrate zoology, evolution. And I'm also the director of our biology field station, which is on the Ohio River at River Mile 451, 17 miles upstream of downtown Cincinnati. And it's the former lock and dam number 35. So way back in 1966, the Corps turned over some of these properties to the Department of Education, who put out an RFP. And the college at that time wrote a grant, and we received lock and dam number 35, about 13 acres and the structures on it, with a 30-year lease agreement with the federal government. So for 30 years, from 67 to 97, we shared ownership with the government. And then in 97, we got it outright. And since then, we've been investing resources for capital and programming, about $3 million over the past 25 years to get it to where we are now, which is a biology field station with housing, conference center, labs, and classrooms. So I'm mainly interested, well, I'm interested in this project for a lot of reasons, but I see the potential that was realized with our field station, with Shiloh's field station, and also see the potential with these other stations from just so many perspectives, whether it's recreation, but also scientific value to these fields, lock houses as well. So I'm excited about possibilities. Thank you.
John.
Good morning.
And who are you, John? And we're just doing quick introductions during breakfast.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm using a home computer. I'm calling in sick today, so I probably sound pretty bad too. But my name's John King, and I work with the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection, and I also work with ORBA as a volunteer. But yeah, I think this project's really interesting, and I just want to support it however I can. So, thank you.
All right, the other John. Who are you, John?
Hi, everyone. I'm also John. And you know what's ironic is I'm also getting over a cold, so both the Johns maybe are a little under the weather. I'm based in Cincinnati. I'm an architect and a teacher here at University of Cincinnati. Interested in the lock houses mostly for kind of piggybacking off what Chris was saying, just like there's a lot of different types of opportunities with the future of them. I think I'm interested in like master planning or the cultural kind of spaces that they might offer for people who are doing recreation on the river. So,
all right. And Woodward.
Yeah.
Hey, good morning. Sorry, it took me a second to get off there. We don't use Zoom as much at the Corps as others. My name's Ken Woodard, so I'm kind of listening in here today. Dr. Wicks invited me to participate. I'm with the Corps of Engineers in Huntington, West Virginia. I'm the chief of what we call our plan formulation section, which we do a lot of the studies that for the Corps. It can be various things. We do a lot of flood risk management. We do navigation studies for our locks and dams and things, but we also we can do some recreation as well. So not something the Corps does as much of as maybe it did in the past, but maybe something we can do again. So really got linked in with this group here in the last few days for the Ohio River Recreation Trail. I know there's the already existing trail from Portsmouth down to West Point, Kentucky, but really looking to get started into a study to look at the possibility of extending that through our area as well. So that could go all the way up the river to Parkersburg, West Virginia, maybe beyond that, or up to, I should say, up to Marietta, beyond that, Marietta, Ohio. Also, at least briefly engaged our Pittsburgh district. They got some interest in extending that trail on up all the way up to Pittsburgh, right up to where the Ohio starts there, where the Mon and Alleghenies come together. So just kind of listening in today here. Since David was nice enough to invite me, see how maybe we can tie all that together. And I've got also Hannah Smith, part of my staff here, and I'll let her introduce herself there.
Hey y'all, my name's Hannah. I am new at the Corps, but I am not new to loving recreation and history. So I have a personal as well as like a professional interest in this, and I'm very excited to be joining y'all. With the Ohio River Recreation Trail, that's like a personal passion, and so I'm excited to be able to hopefully start working on that with work as one of my first projects. So thanks for having me.
All right, PJ.
I'm moving like palm water this morning. Slow. Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm just doing a Zoom by. I got to drop for an ARC call here in a little bit. Just wanted to say good morning to everybody. Just kind of check in, show my support, and thank the LRH planning team for jumping in into the call. So good stuff. I had a quick talk with the LRH real estate chief this morning in the hall. At some point, Ken, fact check me on this, but this may become a real estate issue at some point. So just putting that out there for future discussion. And as you go through your planning process to understand there's some other divisions within the Corps we may need to reach out to. So with that, good morning, everybody. Great work. Looking forward to seeing where this goes.
John Cheek.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Sorry for the delay in call. Like Ken and I, we don't use Zoom too much, and it's a little bit challenged with us for the folks in the Corps. So I'm a civil engineer with the Corps of Engineers. I've been working for them for 30 years now. My last 25, I've been involved with operation and maintenance of locks and dams, specifically locks and dams 52 and 53, the last two wicket dams on the Ohio River. I spent that 25-year career in the Louisville district, and then 10 years at Great Lakes and Ohio River Division in Cincinnati. And I work for another group now with the Corps, but I'm still physically located in the Cincinnati, Ohio. I consider myself a closet historian, so I do enjoy it. I do presentation on the history of the navigation on the Ohio River. Just gave one last week to some UC students that are studying engineering that we're trying to make them aware of what the Corps of Engineers does. So thank you very much.
Well, John did a very nice webinar for the Ohio River Discussion Series, and it's online. So if you want to see a shorter version of his hour-long talk, it's on there. Lacey Gabbard.
Hi, good morning. My name's Lacey. I'm with the Army Corps as well. I'm a project manager and planner, and I've been involved with a project for defining access points on the Ohio River between, on a certain stretch of the Ohio River, it's about 257 miles between Portsmouth and West Point. So I'm here just sort of listening and hope to continue to be involved in future projects with the River Trail.
All right. We have one more, and that's Morgan Atkinson. And Morgan, I'm going to delay your introduction for a minute. He might have to leave, and He's also on the agenda. So I just wanted to sort of say we have 4 topics for the agenda today. Sort of talking with Chris Lawrence of trying to identify owners and managers of each of the facilities and then convene them together for a series of discussions. Another one is this documentary that Morgan's going to talk a little bit about. John King has spent some time with Arcgis and sort of the Lockhouse piece. And then back to Chris again on a follow-up to the Ohio River Basin tour or inspection tour and the ORBA conference. So anyway, Morgan, I'll introduce him. He's a movie maker, a documentary, and he has made a trailer which we're going to think through about having a PBS or KET documentary on the Ohio River, focusing on the lockhouses. And so we've done some work already, but Morgan is a documentary filmmaker, has made a variety of PBS movies. The last one I worked with was on a stream here in Louisville called Beargrass Creek, which I think was the impetus for our large ecological restoration program going on there now. Anyway, Morgan, what else do you want to say about yourself, and can you talk a little bit about the movie we're making?
I'll be happy to. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I allied with David to do this program about Beargrass Creek, which was a creek I grew up near and had a love for, and the two of us combined our talents and made a nice program, I think. David spoke about his passion for the lockhouses and the recreational trail, and that got me involved, and then looking at the whole scope of the Ohio River. So over the past months, I've been putting my toe in, so to speak, and developing a storyline of sorts, and documentaries, particularly ones that are at this point unfunded, take a while. And so this is not something that will happen in the next few weeks, but I hope in the next year or so. Let's see, it will focus on lockhouses in part and on recreational opportunities in part, but it will attempt to give people an appreciation of the Ohio from Pittsburgh to Cairo and the possibilities it offers and the problems that we need to address. So that's pretty nebulous, I understand that, but as I say, these things take time.
Morgan's also been involved in a variety of artists. He made a wonderful movie on Anna and Harlan Hubbard called Wonder. And then he's off to a Thomas Merton exhibit at our Speed Art Museum, and he's made a documentary on Thomas Merton. And so thinking about the human connection and the human spirit and the river and the cultures of people who lived there. So he went on down to Golconda and stayed in one of the lockhouses there as a bed and breakfast and has visited quite a number of them. And so it's our intent, what I wanted to get from this committee today is we are going to do a crowdsource event using a GoFundMe piece. And as Morgan quite artfully says, if people are interested, they'll put money in. If people aren't interested, they won't. And so we'll see how fast we go. We're going to go forward. It just depends on how fast we go forward. And so I wanted to get the blessing of this group so I could go to ORBA and say, you know, we'd like to have your support in sharing this crowdsourcing event for funding this movie. Ultimate goal is about $35,000. And would it be over 6 months? Would it be over a year? Would it be over 2 years? Would some be in kind? Would some, on and on and on. And so I wanted to just throw that out. Would there be any objections from anybody on this crew here? I realize there's some new people here, but this is a committee of Orba Group. Any thoughts? Any comments?
I like the idea. I think not just for the documentary, but it touches upon the other working groups of Orba. So I think it has a broader appeal, and just seeing a little bit of snippets from the documentary, I'm impressed with the quality of the film so far. And a lot of folks, including myself, think that one of the biggest needs for the Ohio River Basin is a PR campaign, a marketing campaign to get folks really understanding and rallying behind resources. And I think this documentary could do that. So I would just market the crowdsourcing as, yes, the documentary, but highlight all the different aspects it's going to cover.
Sounds great. One thing Morgan is doing is we visited, as I said, maybe 6 different lock houses so far. And we're looking for stories. And John Cheek put us in touch with PR folks at the Louisville district. And we're slowly getting contacts of people, because that's part of it is, not only the future uses of these centers, but also the history of the centers and communities who lived on these reservations, just fascinating stories. John, and any, Mr. Cheek, any comments from our meeting that we had with Caitlin?
No, I think that summarizes it well. And I just add that we have a lot of folks that do want to share the story, that work at these, in particular 52 and 53, since they're the ones in recent history that have been operated. A lot of them are working at Olmsted right now, the lock and dam there, which is a wicket dam as well, just one on steroids. So we've got several generations. I know 3 and 4 generation families that have worked at the locks, and they were kids when they grew up on the reservation and started working for the Corps. So we have a wealth of knowledge there in the Paducah area that we can tap for that.
Sounds great. Thank you. Any other comments or suggestions?
David, this is John King. I thought the documentary, the intro that I saw was really well done, looked really nice. I also want to say that I'm a recent FAA drone certified pilot with a drone. So if there's anything I can do to contribute in that way, I'm still learning, but, I find the whole area interesting. So, for something I can do around those areas, I would be happy to.
That'd be great. That would be great. Yeah, Morgan has some drone footage already of up there at Thomas More Biological Field Station, and it changes the approach. Well, thank you again, Morgan, and we will certainly share this information and the links as we go forward. Anything else for the good of the order, Morgan?
No, I think you touched on all the pertinent points.
Well, good. And I'm going to go back up to our first item here, which I call the Historic Lock House and Wicket Dam Site webinar and coalition. And so we do have a Ohio River discussion series, which actually was on Wednesday. And so in talking with Chris Lawrence, could we get together with some of the people who manage lock houses? So Chris, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, so David and I were brainstorming how we might move things forward and continue the work he's done in terms of documenting these stations and the current states of them. And I thought, okay, we need champions locally at these individual sites for us to move forward. Like, we can work together as a committee, but if we don't have local folks who are going to take ownership of their particular sites and rally the community or donors or the business community, it would be tough for us to get things done. So I thought, well, let's reach out to these folks, see who's interested in simply learning more about what can be done, what resources are out there. And so we would offer them a case studies, not necessarily best management practices, but examples. So we have 3 or 4 examples of what is has been done and what is being done at these old L&Ds. And so we could maybe give them some ideas, some inspiration, and some assistance in them picking up their project and moving forward. So the idea was, let's identify local champions within these different communities that have lock and dam sites that are currently underutilized, show them what we've done in a few examples, and then hopefully assist them in garnishing resources to help them move forward. So in other words, David has, like I said, done a great job in documenting these stations along his tours and slideshows, but who in those local places are going to pick up the ball from here? And I think would be a good next step, or one of the good next steps.
And so we've had several. I've talked with the folks at Newburgh and Golconda, and reached out to Owensboro folks, and there's a lot of interest. And so I think it's, next step of this committee is to work specifically with those land managers and identify who is responsible for each one of them. Because all of these properties have been transferred out of the Corps' responsibility. And so that's our challenge, is to see how we can honor the history of the Corps, but at the same time, the Corps doesn't own it. And so that's our goal, is to sort of look through and identify who's responsible for each place. And so, and then there was some discussion about having a program this summer where we would drive and visit several of them. So it could be a webinar in March, and then a driving tour this summer, or a pedaling tour, who knows what. And one of the interesting pieces that I'm just as concerned about is some of the wicked campsites that are not like campsite number 9 up there in New Cumberland, West Virginia. No buildings left. It's a public park with a beautiful boat ramp and wicked campsite. And so the request now is, and this sort of goes into the next item with John King, is who owns and how can we find the contact information for each group, and that's just the challenge, and some of them are quite easy. There's the museum, the Washington Museum, which I still, I've been to it, but I haven't found the contact person. They're in Ravenswood, West Virginia, mile 216. But other ones, let me just share my screen here. Other ones like this guy right here, I don't know where, who owns this one, or this guy right here, 192. So that's one of the challenges, is to figure out who owns them, and to have a system to keep track of all of them. It's a fluid system. And that's why John King, which I wanted to introduce John, he took part in several of the workshops, and he's a GIS guy. And so John, do you want to share your screen? He said the work that John Stratton has done, and put it into a nice little format. Here we go.
Sure, yeah, let me know when you can see my screen here.
We can see your screen, and it says, there you go.
Okay. Yeah, so I just kind of pulled this together off of info that David shared with me. I'm not a GIS professional. I'm a YouTube guy. So when we got to work at home during the pandemic, I thought, well, gee, maybe I should learn something new while I'm sitting here. And so I got into Arcgis Online, and it's much easier than ArcPro. I just know very few. Anyway, so the way this works is if you want to see which lock houses are in West Virginia, for example, everything turns off except for the ones in West Virginia. Okay. And then you say, out of those, which ones still have one or more historic structures still standing? And there you go. Now we can add whatever info. I try to keep this kind of clean, so I didn't put a lot of info in here with this. But I do have the, local ramps, boat ramps included. And I also have another file, which I do not have turned on right now, but it's just Ohio River Parks. So, that type of info could be good to see next to them. But that's how it works. The info that was put into it, I use Survey 123 to build a data entry form. Now, you all could technically use this if you wanted to, but I find that once all the points have been added, it's much easier for you to send me the updated information you want me to add, and then I go into Survey 123's editor section and make the changes. It just keeps the data a little cleaner. So the info I'm trying to capture here is lock number, what Ohio River pool it's in, river mile, name of the facility, address for the facility. Is it for sale? Yes, no, or maybe. What's the price tag? What's the type of property owner? Is it a private entity, a commercial entity, federal government, municipality, nonprofit, state government, county government, other? Now, I can add whatever you want to capture in that section. If you don't like these choices, we can change the name of the property owner address, property owner phone number, email, notes or comments about the property owner, or something that you want to follow up with. So if you want to use this to track your communication dates or something, we could do that. One or more structure is still standing. Yes, no, not sure. And that's what gave us the pie graph. So all of these simple questions, drop down list, yes or no questions, that can create a whole new pie chart or graph that can then be interactive with the map. So you can take it a lot further. Current use of the property. It's commercial, educational, or a lab. It's for sale, lodging, office space, parks and recreation, residential, a welcome center, or other. Now, this is a drop pin function, and I believe I've gone through and identified all of the locations. But if by chance I missed one, that's how you would mark it. You just drop a pin. Basin state, which state is it in? Here you can upload a photo, max of 10 megabytes, which can be somewhat limiting. There's ways to work around this. I think we'll probably end up using. You can link directly to a website if there's information on that lock, right? Case file. Now this one here, one thing I've found with I use the same process to track AML pallet grants. I track abandoned properties. I use this for a lot of different things. And so the way I do this, if I have a case file, I'll create a case file and put it on my Google Drive or whatever Dropbox or whatever you're using. Okay. And then you create a shareable link to that file and you place it here. So when you're over in the map and you click on one of the sites, like right here, you click on this site. There we go. Should come up a little slow. Right down here will be the links. Okay, that one didn't have a hyperlink, but that's where the links would show up. And then any other notes you want to include. So that's basically the data entry form. And as soon as you hit submit, or I make a change over in the editor section, it'll automatically be updated over here. Now, these are currently color-coded by state, but, you know, depending on how you want to look at the info, maybe you just want to color code them by which ones are for sale or not. I don't know. But with that data, you can go in and make all kinds of changes to it. And if you want to have a public facing using this, you could also insert, you know, your video link to the movie. You can do a lot of things with this. And for this project, we may even want to look at Arcgis Hub. It's kind of like the glue that makes story maps fit with data dashboards, right? And they have an outreach component. So I'm just, you know, I'm still in YouTube University when it comes to that, but I can see a lot of usefulness to it. So,
well, John, thank you very much for the overview of it. And this is the next step up from what Mr. Stroughton has done in many ways. And so here's the question, really. Like I saw down in Golconda, I knew the person who was the manager of it, and I've stayed there, so I've sent in photographs. And how do we determine what help you need to finish this up? You know, what's the next step?
Well, if you go through there and I don't know if you noticed on the right-hand side, whenever I would click on the pie graph, it would also change the list of lock houses on the right-hand side. So you can click through that list, go to the lock houses that you know of. And if I got the information wrong, because I just kind of threw it together, I didn't know if you all would want to use this or not. So I didn't know how much time to spend on it. You know, it's one of those, you know, weigh your time kind of things. But if you see a link that's wrong, or you find out how much, you know, this property is actually for sale, just email me, you know, lock house number 51, and here's the correct information I'd like to have added. And then I can go in and add it. If we had Archhub up and running, then each team member could access it and update it as we go. But I haven't quite figured that out yet.
I'd say let's keep it simple.
Yeah, let's keep it simple. Just send me the changes that you want to see.
And so what maybe we can do down the road is to have people take stretches of the river and follow up to make sure the data's up to date. And that could be part of that champion piece that you talked about, Chris, earlier.
Yeah, that was going to be my question, John. I think it looks great. Really tremendous effort so far. But there's information that none of us are going to have on some sites. So how can we request that information that's similar to what we're entering? In other words, is there a form that we can send them, they fill out, and then we give that to you to upload? Like, how would we be that efficient in gathering the information?
Yeah, we could create another form to capture that info that would be in a mailer that would go to these folks if you wanted to. There's a number of ways we could do it, and I'm happy with either way. I would, even if we did another survey form, I would still probably go back in and plug the data into what I have, because it keeps the charts.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But how do we efficiently gather that information? I think an online form for folks to fill out themselves, and then you get it and then work off of those.
That would absolutely work. And we could, I mean, that survey 1, 2, 3 is so easy. I mean, you send me what you want to see in it, and we could probably have it done in a day or two or less. You know, it's pretty easy to put together.
So, John, you're going to send out a form that people could fill out, or we could fill out for other people?
Yeah, it'd be just like the survey form I just showed you. I mean, it'd be very similar to that. So just, you know, if that's the exact info that you want to capture, if that captures everything accurately, then I can just do a save as and copy what I have. It would take no extra work whatsoever. If there's other things you want to add to it, maybe you want a description at the top, you know, what the project's about, maybe a link to the intro to the website or to the video. We can do all that kind of stuff. So just let me know what questions you want asked, and any, you know, anything else you can come up with, and we can customize it to your needs.
You know, one thing that Lacey is working on now, which is sort of interesting, is how this fits in with her gap analysis. So she's identified, the Corps has a PAS project that is doing a recreational gap analysis from Portsmouth down to West Point, Kentucky, and how these vacant lock houses might fulfill a need for that recreation access. So, you know, these two could fit together pretty nicely.
Yeah, there's actually a new addition to ArcGIS that's coming online called Arcgis AI and deep learning, where they can ask it questions. That's going to be a new frontier, but yeah.
Sounds great. Well, I thank you very much. We have just a little bit left of time here, and we will have one more topic, and that was Chris thinking about a follow-up to the ORBA and ORPGRADE conference. You know, there were several Corps folks there, and we did a presentation. I'd like to see if there's a way of having us meet at Thomas More. And instead of being online, maybe some of us could meet at Thomas More the next time. What are your thoughts about a follow-up for the Basin Tour Initiative, you know, the inspection tour and this conference presentation?
Yeah, so this discussion conversation came off the momentum of 3 meetings back to back to back, and that was the Ohio River Basin Inspection Tour presented by the Army Corps of Engineers, which was going to be in person on a boat and then virtual. And then just 1 week later, we had the Ohio River Basin Alliance Summit coupled with the Ohio River Basin Consortium for Research and Education Symposium, all of which were virtual. And we generated a lot of momentum, particularly the Corps were able to open up the virtual orbit tour to more folks that would normally not be invited simply because of space. But it was enlightening for those of us who were able to join that meeting, and we said, okay, how can we capture that momentum, continue the discussions, and hopefully do something in person? So how that manifests itself, I'm not sure. I can tell you that the 2022 ORPGRADE Symposium has already been earmarked for Youngstown State University in the fall, so that's going to be a separate event. It's unlikely that ORBA will join that for their summit, so they're going to hold a summit at some point in the fall. Orbit, the Corps wants to do their orbit or plans to do their orbit in the fall or late summer as well, whether it's virtual or in person, I don't know. But can we do something that's piggybacking, complementing, in conjunction, or completely separate, where we can actually get together? And I offered my site simply because it's in the center of the river, among other items, and it would give you an opportunity to see what we've done with the old lock and dam facilities. And we can continue to discuss the possibilities as COVID dictates, but we would love to host an in-person event, either late spring, summer, or early fall, in person, so we can continue this.
Well, you know, I think in many ways, Chris, that's what this committee is about, is how can we use some of these vacant lock houses that are underutilized and create educational access points up and down the river. You know, the dream is one Thomas More facility per pool. And I think we could get there. And so more to come. You know, I personally think early spring is just a beautiful time up there. Before the leaves come out, you get to see the geography better, I think. But that's just me. We'll follow up with that.
And Shiloh Lock and Dam 34 is a museum devoted to river navigation. And so that would be sort of a field trip when we come here. And then Lock and Dam 36, which is right across from Riverbend, Coney Island to sort of destination sites in Cincinnati has recently been purchased, I believe, or in the discussions of being purchased. We'll see. So there's another site we could visit. You know, we're number 35, 34 is been renovated, 36 is for sale with sale pending or in discussion. So we could see 3 or 4 sites if you're here.
Is that with the South Bank partners, or is it just independent?
South Bank, but it probably premature. I'm not sure how close it is, but it looks a lot of potential.
Just for everybody's information, South Bank Partners is a coalition of 7 cities, and they worked with the Corps and the federal government to build a 7.5-mile greenway along the Ohio River. And this Lock 36 is at the upstream terminus of it. And it's been for sale for about 2 years. And so you heard it from Chris here first.
Well, yeah, just keep that under wraps because it's not a done deal. I was
right.
Premature in mentioning it, but it looks certainly promising, last I heard anyway.
Yeah, it's an interesting facility because they have totally restored 3 of the lock houses, and the pump house is needing to be restored. Well, thank you very much, Chris, for that. Let's just go around and have any final comments, and I'm going to start up here with Ken. You know, what do you think? What have you heard? Any thoughts?
Yeah, that sounds like great and exciting stuff. I'm not sure how engaged I'll be able to be with the recreation working group, but I think especially if we get to move forward with a study to look at extending the Ohio River Trail up through here, obviously the lock houses will be part of that trail. So, you know, obviously you want people to be able to stop along and go get good information there. And John King and I were trading messages here a little bit on the side, so I'm going to look into seeing what photos we can track down. I know we've got some at Point Pleasant, but excuse me, chances are good our operations division folks have photos of a number of those other lock houses, especially if they're at where we still have a lock and dam, you know, a newer lock and dam there, or maybe some in between. So sounds like you guys are doing some good stuff here. Over.
Well, thank you very much. Hannah, any comments?
Yeah, I was really impressed with the map. I'm a GIS person, so I was really happy to see that, and I think it's a great start to be able to see things spatially. So yeah, if I can help out with any way with gathering info on that, I'm more than willing to do that. Or help out with the GIS kind of stuff is definitely something I'm interested in.
Well, that's wonderful. You know, because as you go upstream, these lock and dams come closer together. You know, and it would be great to get the Pittsburgh folks to sort of do the same in their district. And unfortunately, Lacey just left, so we can't hear from her. Mr. Cheek, any thoughts?
Just commenting again on John King's website. I think that's a great start and a great information gathering location, and just look forward to helping out fill in some of those missing gaps.
How do we approach each of the 3 districts to really get them to sort of delve into, just as Ken offered, to look at photographs and background information? Do we write a formal letter to each district, or how does one do that?
Well, you know, we made more informal contacts with Louisville. You know, that's so we've only got 3 districts to work on, and we have some Huntington folks there, and perhaps that might just be the easiest way to start that way. And
okay.
The challenge is finding the information. That information, you know, knowledge management's tough anymore with just how much data we have and where it is and who knows about it. At least that's what I've had challenges on finding history documentation within the Corps.
Wonderful. Mr. Stroughton, any final comments? Any thoughts?
Yeah, yeah, really impressed with John King's map. Wondering, like, more concretely, what the ask is from us in terms of trying to gather ownership information. I see that John is looking at this resource online called Regrid that tries to get like property ownership information from parcels. But is there anything else we can do? Like, can we divide and conquer? Can we say, hey, this stretch of the river, you know, we have a volunteer who's going to try to poke around and try to find local champions for some of these sites? Or is there anything specifically that people who are interested in this group can do to kind of volunteer to kind of gather the information? I guess that's the question I have.
Are you gonna poke around in the Huntington district, John? Is that what you're saying? And be a community advocate?
Well, I feel like the question I have is like, you know, instead of, you know, having all of us kind of broadly, like, is there something we can do that's more focused to say like, hey, you know, I'll take this stretch of the river, you know, I don't
know. For West Virginia, at least in my mind, the way I'm thinking, we have an abandoned buildings program that's through brownfields and revitalizing old properties. And, you know, they have a whole working group that look at abandoned properties, and they're tied in with county commissions and local municipalities. Yeah, I think there's some social platforms, if you will, at least in West Virginia. I don't know about other states that I would, and also our economic development folks in the state, as well as the tourism folks. I mean, these are things that I think we could take to them. You know, it's also a good way for Orba to introduce itself with projects like this, you know. But I don't know, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Economic development folks and sharing, once we put together a nice package, here's the concept, here's the project, this is, you know, here's what we may need from you, kind of thing. Short and sweet, but yeah.
Nice.
Any final thoughts, Chris?
I like John's idea of dividing the workload up among, you know, we could say, okay, I'll take these numbers and somebody else take these numbers. And that way we're covering, you know, all of them more efficiently. But I think getting that form from John, I would recommend just copying and pasting John, save as your question, so that we're making it easier for you when we gather the information for you to convert into your system. And then David could provide an introductory paragraph that describes the project. And then we disseminate that via direct emails, via the Orba Facebook page, via social media. And then I'm wondering if we contact at the county level governmental agencies where these sites are located and ask them to identify what's going on in terms of property owners. In other words, there should be a municipality, a government, whether it's county, city, et cetera, that is aware a little more information about that particular property in their neck of the woods. Does that seem like a reasonable thing to do?
Well, we have already, out of the 35 that have public access, we know who owns them.
Okay.
We just don't, like, for an example, the Ohio Division of Natural Resources owns 4 of them. But we don't have a contact person in the Ohio River Division of Natural Resources. And so, you know, the majority of them, we know who owns them. Now there's 3 right outside of Parkersburg, Marietta, you know, that are vacant that we don't have information on. So those 3 that are right there. And, you know, that's all described really on, maybe we have too many lists, and that's why it's great to have John to coordinate all of this, because, you know, we've gone through and got photographs of each one, contact information for some of them, ownership, you know, agency-wise, like in Owensboro, you know, it's an Owensboro Park. But so I've just tracked down the name of the person who's responsible for it. So it just takes persistent. So just to let you know, Mr. Stroughton, I'll take the lower 300 miles of the Ohio River.
One third. You got the first third of the river. The last third,
not the first.
Yeah, yeah, the last third.
And so I'll do Louisville to Cairo. But I'll send around a note to everybody and to see what they wanted to do, unless if somebody else wants to speak up now.
David, can you just give a quick summary of the numbers again? So you said 35, you have property owners. How many?
Let's see. We can do this.
Yeah, and I would ask for if we split up the by lock numbers, who's going to take which lock numbers or whatever. Go through each one and then send me any kind of updates that you'd, like I said, that you'd want added.
And John, I just had a minor question about, you labeled your website historic lock houses, and maybe the word site could be in there because there's so much more than just a lock house in many cases. And in some cases, the lock house may not be there.
Yeah. No, I can change anything like that. If different project name, I wasn't sure what kind of project name we were going for or what's the best way to describe it, So no, the whole thing is very much a draft. I just ask that you drop it into an email as a reminder, so I know not to, so I don't miss it. I don't really have access to all my tools at home for that stuff.
No, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page in how we refer to that. Like David here has lock houses, dam sites.
Yeah, I know. This really should be the wrong one. There we go. This really could be wicked dam sites. That's what I'm calling it now. So this comes from the summertime. And so 21 lock houses, 13 lock houses have public access, 9 are in private hands, 2 are for sale. And then 6 old lock and dam sites have public access but no buildings, and 23 are demolished or open space or incorporated into development.
I was going to say too, I can export all of that information from the Survey 123 as an Excel file. If that helps you all, I could send that out to you. It has coordinates and stuff included with it, but it just takes what's in the survey form and makes it a CSV document or an Excel.
So, maybe the first step is really for us to go through your list, John, and to make sure that it coordinates with the data that we have. So I'll ground truth your stuff.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Thanks for that summary, David.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Woodward, for your interest, and Ms. Smith for your time, and John King for your computer ability. And I think the bottom line is it would be great to get the Parkersburg folks who have 3 of those block houses right by them. Just this year, they became a nationally recognized water trail. And so if you go to Parkersburg Water Trail, so they went all the way up through, only one in the past 2 years in the entire United States. So they're very pleased with themselves, and they're having a big outreach. And so I don't know if you work with Parkersburg folks much, John, but 3 nice spots there.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some really nice ones there. And like I said, there's a regional commission too that stretches from Ripley all the way up to, I'm thinking Moundsville. That would be really good at like an economic development county commission kind of group that I think would be very interested in that stretch. Yeah.
Sounds great. Maybe we'll get Chuck Somerville to have a place like what you have there, Chris.
Well, Louisville has the chance to bring theirs back, maybe.
We hope. Leavenworth, Indiana, that's where we were at one time, but lots of things to do.
Thanks, David. Good seeing you.
Thank you very much for your time, and we'll be in touch. Bye.